dimension out there. There's another truth out there that you don't understand. You might not be living that truth, but there's another truth. That's why Gnostics only believe in the spiritual resurrection of Jesus Christ. Remember a couple of years ago when the big thing came out about the resurrection of Christ, and how they found the tomb of Jesus, and they found his bones, and that Jesus had not bodily resurrected, but he only spiritually resurrected. That was the whole theme of that. Two or 3 years ago, the book was called The Real Jesus. And the man who made the film Titanic was the one who put together the documentary. And people all over the world were buying into the fact that this was Jesus' tomb, that was Jesus' bones, and he did not bodily raise from the dead, he only spiritually raised from the dead. That's Gnosticism. Gnosticism says that this world, this life, all that is with this life is just getting free of the sinful body, and we'll live in a spiritual godhood together one day. And Jesus was our example. And you could become a god just like Jesus became a god. He was the highest enlightened being ever to exist, and you can do it too. That's what Gnosticism teaches. In Gnosticism, they teach of the apostles of Jesus Christ, Judas Iscariot was the only enlightened disciple. All the other ones were deceived. And that Judas Iscariot, have you ever heard of the Gospel of Judas? They found that out about 5-6 years ago, and they've rewritten it in English so you can read it. It went to the top of the bestseller list also. They believe that Judas Iscariot knew the truth, that Jesus had revealed the truth to Judas, that Jesus told Judas to betray him so that Jesus could die and be released from his physical form. And that the other disciples didn't understand, and that's why the other disciples turned on Judas, although Judas was the only one who knew the truth, quote unquote, according to Gnosticism. Judas was the real hero. And then because the other disciples misunderstood, they made up a religion and called it Christianity. So this world is teaching that our belief in Jesus Christ is made up and that it's not the reality. And it's the theme of many of the popular movies and books that are out there today. It's scary when you think about how many people it's impacting. I went over that last week. Just the Harry Potter films itself. #1 in books, #1 in movies. Not only series, but of individual movies of all time. So regardless of what we think on the subject, there's definitely a religious system that's driving the preoccupation to counterfeit and pervert the truth of the Bible. It's out there, it's swarming our society. So, real quick, stay with me as I take us muggles through a little story of the Harry Potter films. What is a muggle? Does anyone know what a muggle is?
It's a non-magical folk.
Non-magical folk. Okay, so we're just muggles. We don't understand what's going on. And in the Harry Potter books, you have the witch world. You have some muggles who understand what's going on in the witch world. And then you have other muggles who just don't even know what's going on. They just think their reality is the only reality. They don't even see the other reality going on. So if you're one of these muggles, let me take you through the story and see what it's all about. So first, let's go to the Bible. Look at Matthew 16, 18 through 19. Wow, I'm not going to be able to finish this today. Matthew 16, 18 through 19. This is why I didn't know how long this series would last, because I don't want to throw so much at you that you can't digest it during the week. I want you to think about what society is doing to pervert the truth. In Matthew 16, this goes a long way in explaining what's going in the first Harry Potter book, Matthew 16, 18, and this is what is being perverted. In Matthew 16, 18, it says, "And I say unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I shall give unto thee the keys." We see the keys here? Very important in this whole process here. "And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt be loosed on earth shall be loosed in heaven." That's the whole principle here. So let me tell you something about Matthew 16, 18, and 19 from a mystery of Babylon perspective that is alive and well today. Back at the time of Nimrod, there was something called the Book of Petroma. It was called the rock. Okay, it's very important. Upon this rock, I will build my church. And if you are the one upon this rock, you will be given certain keys that will open and shut. And that's what Matthew 6 is talking about. 16 is talking about. So these keys play an important role. In the Catholic religion today, it believes in what is called the primacy of Peter as the first pope. The primacy of Peter. And they go all the way back to Matthew 16 and say that Peter was the one who was given the keys and became the one who could open and shut truth. Are you following me here? So, what's the deal about the keys? In the Babylonian religion that Nimrod started, which is the first head of the seven-headed dragon, certain keys were used to open up the Book of Petroma in order to find the mysteries of life. Now, I am going to upload all of these notes onto the website this afternoon under the message, and you will be able to get all of my notes and be able to look this up for yourself. And I'll even throw in all of the research that I did for it later. So in the first religion of the first head of the seven-headed dragon, you had the Book of Petroma, which if you had the keys, you could open up the mysteries of life. And guess what the person's name was who had the keys? He was the Pontifex Maximus. What is the Pope called today? The Pontifex Maximus. There's been 6 world changes, and every one of those 6 world changes has taken this religion with the Pontifex Maximus, and they've endorsed it in their systems of belief, and it's still alive and well today, the Pontifex Maximus. Now the keys at the time of Babylon were in the possession of a 2-headed god, and if you've read the first book of Harry Potter, you can see where I'm going with this. They're in possession of a 2-headed god named Sybil and Janus. And when Voldemort showed up in the first Harry Potter book, how many heads did he have?
2.
He had 2. He had the person, Quirrell, the person he was over, and then Voldemort had taken over his body, and another head was growing out the back. And during the movies and books, he had something covering it up so nobody could see it. So there was a 2-headed god who was in possession of these mysteries of life. Once in possession of the keys, the cardinal in Babylonian worship, now they were called cardinals, in Babylon would turn the hinge and open the door to the mysteries. And the word cardinal means cardo, which means turn. Okay? So the cardinal in the Babylonian religion would turn the hinge and open the door to the mysteries of life, and one could only attain the keys and open the Book of Petroma if they were found worthy to be the keeper of the mysteries. Now that's important because it ties straight into what the Harry Potter books are talking about. Now the god of Janus, who had the authority over these keys, was called the god of the doors and hinges, and he was called the opener and shutter. What did the Bible in Isaiah 22:22, who did the Bible say is the opener and shutter of truth? It's God. It's the Holy Spirit. So during the time in the Old Testament when Nimrod was on this earth, and he and his wife Semiramis had a child called Tammuz, and Israel kept falling to the religion of Tammuz, because Tammuz was said to have been killed as a child, and his mother, Semiramis, lamented Tammuz's death for 40 days. Lament, Lent. How long is Lent? 40 days. Even Lent today, no matter what good reasons it's used for, started in the Babylonian religious system because they fasted with their Vestal virgins, which are today's nuns. They fasted for 40 days and lamented the death of Tammuz, and according to legend, according to their belief, he rose from the dead and became the Savior of mankind. So whenever you see mother and child deity statues that predate Jesus Christ, it is referring to Semiramis and Tammuz and every other religious group in the world that took over another religious group, incorporated that mother and child deity into the system. And where does it live today? In the Catholic system. Mary and Jesus. So they've taken their whole system. The College of Cardinals came from Babylon. You couldn't become the Pontiff Maximus in Babylon until you were a cardinal. If you were a cardinal and you're proved worthy, you could become Pontiff Maximus. Today, the cardinal, the Pope, can't come unless he's a cardinal. And the cardinal becomes the Pontiff Maximus. The Pontiff Maximus, prior to the first Pope having that title, was a Roman emperor called Gratian. And Gratian, it came to a point, he didn't want that title anymore, so he gave it to the Bishop of Rome, who was part of the Catholic Church. And from that point on, the title of Pontiff Maximus was from Rome, the Roman Empire, to the Catholic Church. And we see this theme all through the Harry Potter books. Today, the Pope believes he has been given authority as the grand interpreter of the mysteries of life, and he alone has the power to turn the hinge with the keys that are in his possession. And if you look at the Pope's robe, when he appears, he's got a set of keys, cross keys, on his robe. And if you've seen the Da Vinci Code, they have a brand with a set of cross keys on it that are representative of the papacy. So what we're seeing is today we've got the sixth head of the dragon. Nimrod started it years ago with the first head of the dragon. It's a religious system that tells you that truth can be found in other places other than the Bible. What the Pope does not realize, the keys that he thinks he is in possession of are not on this earth, and they're going to be given to Israel during the millennial kingdom, when they rule and reign on this earth under the authority of Jesus Christ. He does not hold biblical keys. He holds the keys to the mystery religion of Babylon. I have to stop there. I don't want to stop there. But it's a good stopping point because I'm getting ready to start on specifically with the names and the themes in the Harry Potter books. How does the names and themes of the Harry Potter books relate to what we just talked about with the religion that Nimrod started, he, his wife Semiramis, and his son Tammuz, and how that can affect the minds of people if they don't know how to discern truth. Because the attacks happen, guys. I don't want us to be like ostriches with our heads buried in the sand. Enjoy the books, but please know there is a sinister being slithering behind the story. I'm not talking about Voldemort. This individual makes Voldemort look like Chicken Little. His name is called Satan, and he is a serpent. And he's trying to take the minds of this generation, and he's working very hard at it. Let's bow our heads in a word of prayer.